Good morning, boys and girls. So, what have we been talking about this whole week? You cheated. You saw on the board, matter. We've been talking about matter for science this week. Well, what specifically can you tell me about matter? Okay, there's 3 states. Don't look, don't cheat. Okay, there's 3 states of matter, right? But today we're going to learn something different. We're going to learn about how the effects of heating and cooling change the states of matter. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's review a little bit. So matter is anything that takes up space, right? Very good. We already know this. Piece of cake. There's 3 states. We already know that, right? Who can tell me the first state? Very good. Solid. So solid, as a drawing we did in the very first day, right, is like tiny, tiny balls all bunched up. It has a definite volume. Oh, where's my marker? Here it is. It has a definite volume. It's always going to be the same size. The definite shape. It's never going to change shape. Is this marker going to fold or bend? It's always going to be straight. And it has tightly packed molecules, meaning that this marker isn't just going to magically disappear. It's always going to be straight, it's going to be black, it's going to be white, and it's going to be hard. A marker. Then we have liquid. So the balls are kind of a little spread out, right, in our drawing. Liquid, it has a definite volume. Whoop. I have my water bottle because I always get thirsty, right? Can we see the water? It has a definite volume. The water has a definite volume because it's heavy or light. It takes the shape of the container. So right now the water, it's taking the shape of this bottle. So if I had the water in my cup, the one that I always bring, it'll take the shape of that cup. And it is loosely packed molecules. Because it is so loosely that it is liquid, it can move around to any cup or container. Now gas. Our drawing has these little balls spread around the whole circle, right? Or the whole container. And that is because it takes the volume of the shape in the container. Meaning that gas is everywhere. Gas is in the clouds. Okay, you can see gas there. Gas is whenever you boil something. Gas is like the helium inside of the balloon. Right. It's just so spread out you can never see it. So it is very loosely packed molecules. Very good. So I have a question for you guys. I did this art at home yesterday, but I want you to tell me, how do you think I made it? How long do you think it took me? Well, it didn't take me a week if I said that I did it last night, right? It took me like about, I won't tell you. Let's leave it as a mystery. So, how do you think this happened? How do you think the crayons did this? Okay, you think I left it outside in the sun? That could be a good prediction. What about you? Okay, you think I put it in the oven? Well, what do those things have in common? Very good. They have heat in common, right? Because they melted the crayon. Well, actually, what I did is I used a hairdryer. Who knows what a hairdryer is? Yeah, it's what your mom uses to do her hair in the morning, maybe sometimes. It's really loud. It goes, and she does her hair, right? Well, that hair blow dryer, it's like spits out hot air. So that's how I melted this. But we'll go back to that in a little bit because I'm going to show you how we can do this together. So that melted. Now what about when we go to McDonald's and we ask for a cup of drink? What do you always put? The drink or the ice? The ice. And what happens with the ice if we leave it in our drink for so long? It melts, right? It not necessarily has to be in a hot object, but it can be in a cool, warm, that after a while, it'll melt. Yeah, because that's kind of adding heat to it. If the cold isn't with the cold, it'll melt. So today we're going to be talking about heating and cooling with the states of matter. And I have some examples for you. If I have a solid object here, remember, this is just like our pictures here, solid, liquid, and gas. So if I have a solid here, like for example, butter. Who eats butter with their pancakes? Oh, very good. So when we take out the butter, we take it out from the fridge, right? And is it cold like a block or is it liquidy like water? It's cold, right? Very good. But what happens if we add heat? Let's add some heat. If we add some heat, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, well, sort of. We're going to get some liquid. Just like if we put the pancake, right? Like if your dad's making pancake for breakfast and he takes it out and he puts it in your plate and then you put the butter, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to melt. Very good. So I brought a picture here of a pancake with a butter and it's melting. Very good. Now we have liquid. We have a liquid substance. Remember, liquid takes the shape of the container. But what if I take away heat? Who can tell me another word for taking away heat? Right, adding cold. So we can add cold to liquid. And what do you think is going to happen? What is it going to give us? Very good. It's going to give us a solid. This is our picture for solid, right? Well, who can give me an example of this? I brought my picture, but I want you guys to help me. Ah, very good. You guys are so smart. So, I brought a picture of an ice tray, putting it inside the freezer. And then what happens? It freezes, right? Because we have liquid, and if we put it in the freezer with a lot of cold, it becomes ice, right? Very good. So there's our next example. Then we have another liquid. Oh, these liquids are driving me crazy. So we have a liquid. But now, if we add heat to the liquid, what do you think it's going to give us? Well, not quite. Liquid plus heat can't give us liquid. Because it's going to be very hot. It's going to what? Disappear. Yeah, so the word for that, or the state of matter, would be gas. So then liquid plus heat gives us gas. One example of that is whenever your mom cooks in the kitchen and she's making chicken noodle soup. Yeah, you've seen that. Makes me hungry, right? Okay, well, whenever your mom makes chicken noodle soup, she puts it in a pot, right? And then she turns on the heat, and then what happens? It starts to, like, make bubbles, right? And, like, yeah, it boils. Very good. So that is called evaporation. That's whenever a liquid is turned into a gas. What about our last example? Our last example is of a gas, which can be what? The helium in the balloon. What else? Okay, close, but let's hear an example. So we have gas, but now we are taking away heat, or we are adding cold. Very good. I have a very smart class. I'm very proud of you. So what happens when we have gas and we add cold to it? Woohoo! You're getting the hang of this pretty quickly. We get a liquid. So now we have a liquid state. And one of the examples of this is when you guys have like carnasadas or parties with your parents, you have a cooler, right? And then you take out the Coke out, and it's still kind of cold. But what happens to the side of the Coke? What happens to the side of the can? You see like little drops of water, right? That is going from gas to liquid, because then you have drops of water. So that is condensation. So now, I want you guys to come over here and stand here, because we're going to do a fun little experiment, just like the one I had showed you that I did in my house, remember? Well, some of you said that I took pretty much all day to do it. Or you said that it took me quite a while to do this. But actually, if the heat is pretty strong, you can melt this within minutes. But remember I said that I had my hairdryer? Let's try and see if my hairdryer is fast enough to melt the crayons. Let's see what happens. at least very little heat has a certain effect on solid objects, right? Just like I have some ice here. Well, they were really strong and hard like a solid, but they've been here for the whole class period. So what's happening? Can someone tell me? They're melting, right? But I didn't have them in anything. They were just in this container. I didn't have heat. Oh, you guys were paying attention. If the cold isn't with a cold, it's gonna what? It's gonna melt. Very good. So now in your groups, I want you guys have your colors, yeah. You don't have a hair dryer, but you're gonna come up over here and you're gonna do it with me. And then after that, I want you to go back to take out your science journals and you're gonna write what you learned today. And I also want you to write this chart because it's gonna help you in the future with learning how you can add heat and cold to figure out other experiments. You can do this at home with your parents. Ask them to teach you, like to boil something or to put something in the freezer. You never know. You'll find an experiment. And I want you tomorrow to come back and tell me something you froze or you melted, okay?